Hey everyone, welcome to a little bit of woo-woo. First of all, thank you guys for all your kind words and your comments. I really appreciated the support over the year. It's been really amazing. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to start off by saying this is for entertainment purposes only, as you guys already know, because I always say this. Also, energy changes. Sometimes things that I'm seeing now get shifted, which is why, coming back on and doing more episodes is always helpful. Also, sometimes I am just plain wrong. That's all there is to it. Anybody who does intuitive work is sometimes. And sometimes we can be very wrong. So just keep that in mind. Entertainment purposes only. I am a psychic reader. I'm also a hypnotherapist. I do see clients for private readings. Link in the description. I don't think I have any appointments available before the end of the year. So I'm recording this on December 16th at 9 a.m. Pacific. And first thing I want to say is that the first few months of the year, I just kept kind of seeing it's sort of winding down from what happened in 2024. So we're going to be seeing for the first, I want to say until like March, a lot of it is like finishing up what happened in 2024. It doesn't feel like the year really starts again until the actual Lunar New Year, which I think this year is in March. It feels like that's when things really, really change. Having said that, there's gonna be a lot of stuff. You guys are already feeling it. I mean, it's a lot of crazy. The energy has definitely shifted. I'm gonna start with what's gonna happen with people personally this next year. First thing I want to say is, humor me, guys. A lot of you are going to be victims of the cat and dog distribution system. I keep seeing a lot of cats and a lot of dogs joining people's families, and I can already hear it. Like, Bo just died. We're not getting another dog. I'm sorry. That's not how it works. You have been found worthy of the cat and dog distribution system. A new puppy or a new kitten is just going to show up. And I will say, from personal experience, the kitten distribution system is a little more creative. Don't see too many dogs showing up like literally in people's cars, but that happens all the time with cats. Just saying. Okay, so also, I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot of major disclosure events throughout the year in different areas. I'm going to talk about that more because it's going to be really important when I start talking about politics here in a second. But there's going to be major disclosure events. It's a lot of times it just feels like things are not meant to be secret anymore. Everybody has a camera, and a lot of people are feeling much more comfortable and free saying things that would have normally gotten you thrown away in jail for the rest of your life. I do see a lot of shifting of people's emotions and feelings, particularly around ideas. I see a lot of people going from being in a victim's place to hold my beer, going from shifting attitudes, starting new businesses, starting to feel like they're just not going to deal with things the way they are anymore. They're going to be part of change. A lot of that inspiration, I feel like, happened October, November. I wonder what happened in November that would have caused that. And people are starting to think, well, geez, I want to be part of a change. I want to be part of transformation. I have ideas I want to share. You're going to be seeing a lot more people starting YouTube channels, starting, things that are kind of brand new for them. People are having new goals, new agendas, new ideas, a lot of disruptor energy. I really like the disruptor energy because I feel like it's going to get people to start things like, like a new version of Uber or new things that we haven't even really thought about that aren't on our radar. The other thing I'm seeing with people personally, I'm talking about clients that I'm working with a lot too, is a lot of people are really going to be shifting their health this year. People have figured out that eating fresh fruits and vegetables overall long-term costs you less than spending time at the hospital or dealing with medical issues. We've all gotten to see and discover, due to recent events, how unpleasant dealing with health insurance companies are. We all have stories like that. Everybody does. I'm sure you don't even need to put them in the comments, although feel free. Everybody's had a bad experience with health insurance companies, and many people have had to call lawyers as a result of it. I am seeing a lot of people dropping LBs. Before you start to do anything injectable, skating a fine line here, YouTube doesn't like talking about medical stuff. I would just suggest reading books on this. There's a great book by the guy who did How Not to Diet. I can't think, Dr. Greger. He actually wrote a book on this subject. I would highly recommend researching those kinds of things because I've seen it go both ways, and I would encourage you to just know what you're getting yourself into before you do it. But basically, at the end of the day, eating healthier, I think, is going to be the way a lot of people choose to do it. I see for a lot of people new connections, new groups, new online forums. It's almost like people are going to do like a new version of Meetup where they've got little, little spiritual enclaves of people around the country, around the world who are not necessarily local to them. So some people are going to be meeting in people's living rooms, but I do see a lot of people meeting on Zoom. As a result of that, though, I will say I am also seeing some new cults show up because people, when they're seeking, they're a lot of times in seeker mode. They have an experience, they feel good about themselves. They think the person who gave them this experience, this meditation event, had mystical properties and get involved in something that initially seems very positive. I would just caution you on that one. And another great book on this topic, it's so good. You should read it anyway. It's called Cultish. Can't think of the author's name. I think I have the book behind me. I highly recommend that one. Just, I think I read that book in 4 hours on a plane. Highly recommend it. But this is a great topic because there are a lot of organizations that are not religious that are using these same tactics. Okay, weather events. Oh, this is a tough one because I don't want you guys to get scared because most of you are going to be watching what I'm describing on television and sending thoughts and prayers to the people that this is affecting. I do feel like it's going to be really rough out there this year. I do think we're going to have, I'm seeing a record number of tornadoes. I'm seeing a record number of fires in, Southern California. You guys, if you looked at the news lately, which I don't recommend, by the way, you probably saw the fires in Malibu. Really very sad. This is areas that had already been decimated by fires just a few years ago. Some of these homes had just fairly recently been rebuilt. I am seeing that. I'm also seeing an earthquake. I'm actually seeing 2 earthquakes. Okay, so I've talked about this one before, and I felt like it was San Francisco, but it could be closer to LA. Usually these earthquakes, the epicenter is not near a city. It's actually usually out in the desert. This one feels like a pretty strong earthquake. I do feel even cities that it's not really affected are going to be affected because of the disruption in water supply, power supply. I can't tell for sure if it's San Francisco or LA, but it feels more like San Francisco to me because I do see supply chains being disrupted, supplies coming from like Mexico, which is where a lot of us, most people don't realize how much of our food comes from Mexico, particularly in the wintertime, coming up from Mexico on its way to like Oregon and Washington. I do see some disruption that in just things taking longer. I do not see a massive loss of life. I'm just going to say that because that's just not what I'm being shown. I see what I would call a big mess, and I see some infrastructure problems. And honestly, a lot of times these infrastructure problems, the rebuilding needed to happen anyway, and this was just the impetus. So for those of you who do tarot cards, this is the Tower card before the rebuilding of what happens. I'm not going to say this is a good thing, but I'm saying the rebuilding to me feels very positive. So what do you do? What do you do? Okay, so I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. Everybody needs to have some basic supplies in their garage, put some water in there, some kitty litter, which you can use as a toilet too, by the way, just letting you know. Makes a great toilet. And make friends with your neighbor because your neighbor, at the end of the day, this is going to be your best lifeline. We are all so interconnected that it's easy for us to think we're a little island of our own, but it's not really true. So, have your supplies, don't be a part of the problem, and make friends with your neighbor because you guys are going to all be in this together if something bad happens. The other thing I'm seeing, this is the one that really kind of gives me pause because I saw it a couple of times and I saw it in a way I don't normally see things. I saw a big tsunami. It doesn't feel like it's in the US. Okay. So it's not off the coast of LA. But I do see a lot of damage with that one. And I can't say where. It's in a place I'm not familiar with. It's not a place I've ever been to. Could be like the Indian Ocean. Could be in the same area where there had been a tsunami before. It felt like there was, in my dream, this one came as a dream, and it came a couple of times. Which is kind of unusual. That's not usually how I see it. But it was like a volcano kind of in an area that wasn't expected. And then it caused this tsunami and a lot of low-lying, just low-lying areas. I'm seeing it going way in. So I hope I'm wrong about that. But I do see that's what I was shown. Politics. Ooh, this is going to be a rough year for politics. Okay, I'm going to be careful how I say this, but I do feel I'm just gonna call it some scandals. There's gonna be some scandals. I feel like we may even start to see some of that before the end of 2024. So right now it's 12/16. It could be before the end of the year, we're starting to see the beginnings of that. I would say, before I say all of this, I would say it doesn't necessarily mean the outcome is gonna be different than what it was when what happened in November. But I am seeing some scandals. I am seeing it involving quite a few people. I don't know if this could at all, if it's possible this could be related to the Diddy thing. I don't know. It just feels like something, there's some disclosure events involving foreign entities. I don't know if it's the foreign entities release the information. Could be, other countries spy, not just us, right? And they release information and it's involving other, I don't know. I do feel like they already know this is coming, but there's a matter of like, how much do we release to the public? How do we plug the holes? Do we just pretend this didn't happen? I feel like some of this is already kind of happening behind closed doors, maybe even has been for months, but I don't know. I do feel like the fertilizer is going to hit the oscillator probably January-ish, February-ish. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I have never seen 45 having an inauguration. That doesn't mean it's not going to be true, because it looks like that's what's going to happen. It just means that it could be just a blind spot for me, because that's not something I would have wanted. It also could be, there's another possibility. It also could be because of some of the unaliving attempts that have happened, they decide not to do a big public thing. They decide to just do something quietly behind closed doors. That's also an entire possibility. It's also possible he's just not feeling well, and they decide to do it that way just because it's easier. It could be raining, it could be really cold. I don't know. That's just a thought on that. But I've not seen that. I've also not seen one for Vance. So I'll be very clear on that. I do see that some of this political disclosures is going to involve several politicians. It does feel like leadership could be changing. And I feel like that could happen March, April-ish. Now, when I say March and April, I don't mean it could be in March or it could be in April. It feels like it's going to be happening over a period of time. The other reason this is important is because I do feel like it's going to affect the stock market. Could even cause a stock market crash. Having said that, for entertainment purposes only, I am not a stock professional. You should not listen to me. You should not listen to me to make stock choices, okay? I am also seeing a bit of a correction in January, which could actually be people just taking profit because they couldn't do it in December, because they would have had to pay taxes on it this year. So they take the profit in January selling, and then they can pay for it next year. Could be some of that happening, but it doesn't feel like a massive correction. But what I'm seeing is that something that happens external that's not on a lot of people's radar ends up happening and causing triggering a stock market, a more significant stock market correction. Let's put it that way. Possibly, like I said, possibly in January, going up, going through and happening again, maybe in March and April. I do feel like there's going to be like in the economy, the winners and losers have kind of already been chosen. I hate to say this, because I do feel like a lot of people are actually going to do pretty well this year. A lot of people I'm seeing, it's going to be a pretty good year financially for a lot of people. But then there's a whole nother group that is going to be business as usual, meaning not that great. A lot of people who got ideas, inspirations in October, November-ish, are going to start to really plant those seeds, and they're going to start to take fruit May and June of next year. It feels like we're going to be seeing a lot more businesses, a lot of people saying, yeah, I'd lost my job, but I already had this thing going on, this little side business selling parts. I don't know, making widgets, things on Etsy. I had a client made a lot of money selling stuff on Etsy. I don't know, just play around with it. Now is the time to start to explore from the spirit of play how you want to engage in the money system. It's not about being afraid. It's about looking at your situation and trying to get the most out of what you're receiving. I do see a lot of people have made the changes that they needed to make to their finances to put themselves in a better spot. I think a lot of people did do that last year. A lot of people really started to make adjustments. I think this sort of gratuitous overspending is going to start to really be out of fashion, and we're going to be seeing people making more practical decisions. Having said that, I know people are asking a lot about inflation, particularly with with regards to tariffs, I really just don't see much inflation happening. There were going to be little things, yes, like eggs, where inflation is a result of an extraneous event. Google that if you want to see what's going on with eggs, why eggs are up. But I don't necessarily see that being a widespread. I actually don't see that being a widespread thing. I'm just going to say it. So if you don't need a car right now, don't feel like you need to run out and get a car unless you need one. Although you might get a deal. It is December, especially in a Nissan. Just saying. Don't feel like you need to if you don't want to. But just understand there's going to be some products that are going to be more expensive. There may even be some, I do see some shortages of certain products, but again, it feels like it's in relationship to kind of an extraneous event, like what's going on with eggs affecting products being on the shelves in 3 months, because as some of you guys don't know, grocery stores hold on to food for quite a while before you actually get a chance to buy it. It ends up in warehouses and then it has to be shipped. It's not like it was made yesterday. Let's just put it that way. So shortages today will affect products in 3 months, and people may not, whatever's going on with eggs may not even be happening anymore. Okay, I am also seeing a banking crisis. Not at your bank though, because it's not one of the huge ones. It's a significantly sized bank. I think it's related to the interest rate problem. It feels like it was one they sort of taped over because the election was coming. Nobody wanted to see another banking crisis in the news, but it does feel like we're going to be seeing that. I want to say in the first, maybe even the first quarter of the year. It's not going to be yours. I don't feel like anybody's going to be losing any money, but it does feel like it scares people. That may even be the trigger I was seeing for the stock market. But I don't worry about this one. Just be aware that when you're on the news, you see it on the news. Okay, well, that sucks for those people, but I don't think it's going to be a massive thing other than kind of an inconvenience. Let's put it that way. Ooh, let's look at the job market. Oh my goodness. Okay, layoffs. Oh my gosh, there's going to be a chunk of them. But having said that, layoffs aren't really a problem. It's the lack of hiring that is a problem. And there are some companies, you guys have already seen this in the news, getting really creative about how they lay off people or how they get people to quit on their own. Okay. So I'm just going to show you a scenario here. Your boss comes up to you and says, "Hey, Veronica, we're kind of encouraging everybody to get that certificate. It's a security certificate, some certificate pertinent to your job, right? We're really encouraging everybody to go get that." Veronica says, "Hey, sure. How much are you going to pay me? You're going to pay for it?" No. We're not offering any compensation for that. We're just encouraging you guys we just think everybody should go get it, but we're not going to pay for it. Okay. It's not a request. It's a demand. If you don't go get it, you may find that everybody who doesn't have this special certificate gets laid off. If there's something like that in your industry, I would encourage you to look into it, look into the cost, and consider doing it because it's an investment in yourself. I had a client once, this was a few years ago, but her boss they were trying to fire her. They're trying to fire her. So they told her she needed to get some certificate by like June, and they had carefully picked a date that was just before you could get you could take the test in her state, not realizing that she has Google and had the ability to fly to another state and take the test at a different state, which is exactly what she did. The date came up. They thought they were so clever, right? She had her certificate. I'm just saying there's going to be some creative ways for them to get out of paying unemployment and get out of paying severance. I do feel like we're going to be seeing more of that kind of return to work thing to get people to try and voluntarily quit. But again, I'm coming back to invest in yourself. If there's something like that that could improve your ability to stay employed or in quality of work, then get it, because a lot of people won't do it. A lot of people just won't do it. And here you'll be having this obscure certificate that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it may be a government mandate that you have to have it. It feels like something with security. It feels like we're going to be needing cybersecurity certificate. I don't know, something like that. If there's something like that in your business, look for that. Businesses. New businesses, new types of businesses showing up. Having said that, I do feel like we're going to be losing some more big companies, to bankruptcy or restructuring. The restaurant industry is kind of in trouble, you guys. People got so used to living, working, and eating at home that they're not really wanting to pay for the extra tip and also the $6 for a soda. So, I think we're going to be seeing less restaurants than there was before. And it's sad. I mean, these are all like jobs that are going to be lost from the marketplace, but I do feel like we're going to be losing more businesses. The MLM industry has come to my attention for some reason. I'm not a fan. Multi-level marketing, not a fan, never have been. But I do feel like there may be some even new regulation, and if that hasn't already happened, because a lot of the multi-level marketing companies are restructuring and a lot of them are going away. If you are familiar with Beachbody, I think it's now called Body, they just did something where they really messed with the salary compensation of their member. I don't know what you're going to call them, the people that have the downlines. Um, there's going to be more of those. If you're one of those people that is relying on a multi-level marketing income, I would really be looking, because although you may call it a business, if they can fire you, if they can take your money away, it's a job. And I think a lot of those people did not see it that way. And they're going to be getting a rude awakening as this starts to happen even more and more. Real estate. Okay, oddly enough, I was being shown something on the real estate side that I didn't expect to see. I was seeing that there's going to be some programs that are going to help people buy houses that are maybe like more qualified buyers. A lot of these programs in the past are some of the least qualified buyers who maybe shouldn't be buying a house right now. But it does feel like there's going to be a program that felt like a Kamala Harris program where there's some incentive. I don't know if it's an incentive maybe to the people selling. Some of the older generation needs to get out of these houses before, so they can use this money for their retirement. I don't know, but it does feel like there's something like that coming, because I do see some people getting either a big tax credit or just like a check to buy a house for their down payment, for improvements. There's some program there where I do feel like there will be some movement in houses. And of course, when I first saw this, I thought, let's just say it's 25 grand to buy a new house. All of a sudden houses go up by 25,000. I wasn't really seeing that. So it feels like there's something that's structured in a way that doesn't necessarily raise the price of houses. Having said that, a lot of real estate agents don't realize this now, but their business is gone. It kind of ended 9 months ago, and things are really been rough out there. I do feel people starting to get deals on houses summer, maybe towards the end of summer, closer to next winter. But use it for yourself. It's not going to be every market. Some markets, like San Diego, I think houses are still going up in price. Down here, that's definitely not the case. So you're up here, up here. Know for your own self and consult with a professional, preferably one that has been a real estate agent for a long time and isn't necessarily as worried about the money as they are making sure that you get what you really need. That's going to be really important. But I do see the housing market is in some rough shape. And I'm sorry for the real estate agents. I'm sorry for people. I know some of you thinking, well, these people, they make so much money. You guys, they really don't. They really don't make that much money. And it's not just the real estate agents. It's the title companies. It's the insurance agents that sell insurance to people who buy houses, because you guys realize if a house doesn't sell, a new insurance policy isn't written. Those people get commission too. They have staff. They might have to lay off. It's a whole trickle effect. This whole housing market being low kind of affects a lot of things. It also affects things like buying new washers and dryers, right? I mean, a lot of people do that when they buy a new house. They buy a new washer and dryer, they buy new appliances, they get new quartz countertops, they get the new wood floors. All of that thing comes with it. And I'm not seeing that movement happening. I think it's going to start to come back later, but it's going to be rough. The economy in general, it's going to be a rough go. I don't think it's going to be, I do feel like it's going to improve a bit. Improvement. I don't see it's going to be massively cratering. So if the question is, are we going into a depression? I'm not seeing that. I'm absolutely not seeing that. I'm seeing that some areas it's going to start to improve again, but the jobs may not be there. And that's why I'm seeing a lot of people shifting to entrepreneurship, shifting to just changing their perspectives, people moving in together. It's going to be a rough year for the economy. Don't get me wrong. But if you have a job now, let's say you have a job now, there is I want to say 93% chance you're still going to have that job at the end of the year, or end of next year, But that's not going to be true for everyone. You're still going to watch people get laid off. You're going to still see positions eliminated within your companies. Some of those positions eliminating will help you, will get you to a higher position. You'll get a raise, you'll get shifted. I do see this being really good for a lot of people, but I know the people that it's not going to be good for, it's very unfortunate. And Again, I kind of feel like the winners and the losers have already been picked. So, last thing I'm going to say on this is like I said before, I do see a lot of small groups opening up. I do see people connecting, gathering, commiserating in the spirit of love. Oh, yeah, there is one more thing. This is the last thing. I did see when it came to politics, there's one thing I thought was really, really important here. Totally forgot to say it. I do see that some states kind of defying federal mandate. I talked about this before, but I did definitely see it coming. When I thought it was going to be Harris, I was feeling like it might be Texas and Florida, just sort of like, we're not going to do what you say we're going to do. We're going to do our own thing. I'm now wondering if it's possible it's Oregon, Washington, and California, because they do share borders with Canada and Mexico, and can allow supplies to move fairly freely between those three countries. I'm not seeing for sure what, but I definitely see some states doing things separate from what, or defying a particular order from the government. That's why it's important for you to pay attention to who your governor is and make sure that they are important to, they reflect your personal values, because that is going to start to be really, really important in 2025, as I do feel like more governors are going to be taking more power, more of a power position within what happens, what's going on. There's going to be some things happening in the world that scare people, and the governors may be having more of an effect on the control of their states. In a lot of ways, I feel like your governor is going to have more of an impact on your daily life than the president. So just keep that one in mind. And I do feel like that's coming. I'm going to talk about that more in a separate video, because I feel like that's going to be bigger and more important later. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. Again, overall, I think for most people, it is going to be a good year if you can get past what's happening in the news and don't watch it, because most of the time, a lot of what we're seeing has been curated. They edited things out. They tried to make things appear to be more pleasant and more happy than they really were. I want you to just step back and bring the attention back to yourself. How can I improve my own life? What is it that I want? Is there a certificate I need to get? There's a house down the street I really think is pretty. I hope it comes up for sale, or hope there's one like it. I want you to be thinking about the things that matter to you, bringing it back to your own family, to your own wishes, and not getting caught up in narratives. That's an issue for all of us, getting caught up in stories, because a lot of them aren't true, or they're not completely true. And make friends with your neighbors, hug your dogs and your cats, and have a really good year, because I think it's really going to be a good year for most people. Okay, guys? Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We'll see you later. Bye.